What is up, crew? Welcome to Seek the Edge podcast, where our mission is to challenge you outside of your comfort zone so you can see and understand the God-given potential inside. And I'm really excited today because this is more tactical. A lot of times it's a lot of mindset work and identity work and leveling up, and it can give you tips and tricks to have the courage to take that step in your life. But today is very tactical from a nutrition side, from a fitness side, and it's all about ways to improve body composition. And the reason why I want to have this is because, one, I got into it because that was a big desire of mine, is I just didn't feel like I looked the way that I wanted to and felt good in my body. There's so many other ways to determine progress. Like now, I think the fitness industry a lot, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but is just trying to make you the smallest version of you, which the smallest version of you is not the healthiest version. I would rather educate you appropriately on ways to do it best for your body versus what you see on Instagram and social media of eat ice chips and do 500 hours of cardio a day and then you're going to get results. I don't believe in that. I think that's ridiculous. There's a lot of fad diets, fad things out there. And so my goal in this podcast is to shed a lot of light on, okay, if I want to level up this spring and summertime, which I know some of you do, how do I do it that's best for my body? And how do I do it in a way that actually gets me results? I first got into this way back in the day in college, and I remember just waking up and I didn't feel the way that I wanted to feel. I didn't look the way that I wanted to look. I always identified as the athlete, and I'm like, oh girl, you are not feeling or looking like an athlete right now. So I went on the Instagram kick and I said, okay, who looks the way that I want to look? And I would do whatever they did. Mm-hmm. And that is not the way that you get results. Let me tell you that. And I would do the Instagram workouts of all the booty kickbacks. And I would, whenever people did like a full day of eating, I'm like, oh yeah, let me just do whatever they did there. And that not only did not give me results, right, it left me frustrated. It left me discouraged. And I had no clue how to elicit the change that I wanted to elicit. And so then I had a buddy that I would work out with in college, and he helped me do a lot more strength training, would challenge me, push me. And at the time, he knew a lot more than me in nutrition. Yeah. And guys and girls are vastly different. And I'm not going to get all into the science of it because that podcast could be an hour and a half long. But what works for guys does not necessarily work for women. And I always like to say for our women, like, we are not little guys. From a nutrition side and hormonal side, we have to be very smart about how we do things because our bodies are different. So anyway, he was like, oh yeah, Kelsey, start tracking your macros. And I was like, okay, what is that? So I started tracking my macros. And I remember, and it was not out of harm on his end. He just didn't know any better. Yeah. But once again, he was a step ahead from me. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just do whatever he says. And I was eating at that time 80 to 90 gram carbs, like 110 gram protein, and I think maybe 50 to 60 gram fat, which if you know anything about intake, that is very low carb, very low carb. And I was getting very discouraged because I was putting in the work, I was doing the things. Not only was I not seeing results, I was hungry, I was tired, I was frustrated, and I'm like, what? Like, maybe I'm just not meant to see the muscle that I want to see, or do the thing, or just have the physique that I want to have. And I was very discouraged at that time. Yeah. And so I did that for a couple months, and then finally I got to a point where I'm like, okay, if I really want to see results, like, let me hire a coach. Yeah. Not all coaches are created equal. There's a lot of people that say they're fitness and nutrition coaches that, in my opinion, really shouldn't be because they're really harmful to people versus helpful. So just because they're a coach, be very particular about doing your research, talking with them. But I ended up hiring a coach, and I was very grateful. He was an amazing influence in my life. And I remember when I said I wanted to lean out, and at that time it was also a bodybuilding comp. Mm-hmm. And he gave me my first set of macros. Mm-hmm. So my protein, carb, and fat, for those that don't know. It was like 240 gram carbs, 100 and whatever, maybe 30, 40 gram protein and maybe 60 gram fat.
Yeah.
But I saw 240 gram carb and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Does he know what he's talking about? Like I questioned everything
Yeah.
there. I was like, do you know my goal is to lean out,
Yep.
not gain more weight and put more weight on my body? But it was an ignorance on my end because I had no idea how the body operated. I had no idea how reverse dieting or being on a maintenance or a cutting phase. I had a lack of knowledge there.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
That was
And many and women, but I'm going to speak directly to women with this because that's who we coach. And that's who we've worked with, hundreds of women. They just don't know any better.
No.
And that was me. And so when I first got that 240, I was questioning all the things, which it's funny now that I reflect. So 240 is like low for me. I'm like, only 240 grams? Like, no way. But that's the progression of growth. And so, and I'll go quick overview. I went into my maintenance for a little while, built some good muscle, and then I went into a cutting phase, which allowed me to see that muscle. But I had no idea how any of those phases were. I had no idea what nutrition phases were. And so I was very discouraged early on, but then led me to gain results that I never thought that I could really have. And I always say it's not just about aesthetics. You know, like I'm at a point right now where I just want to feel the way I want to feel. Yes, I want to look the way that I want to look, but it's also about performance and whatever resonates with you, by all means, go for it. But I feel like we need to shed some light on this topic because it's summertime. Women are going to be probably many of them are going to desire that. And I'd rather educate people on the way to do it right than ignore the topic and not bring it up. And then them get poor information from people. So isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I know.
Well, social media does not help at all.
No. And it can be very enticing to see people that look ripped and think, oh, they know what they're talking about. Some might not.
But some people are just like not built that way, but they are born very, athletic and lean. But some people, they have to work for it.
Yeah. And I was that person though. I was that person that it didn't and doesn't come easy for me. I have to be pretty diligent with my habits, with my nutrition, with my sleep, with my water, with my training. And so I feel for those people when they're like, I've been doing all the things, or they even believe the lie of like, well, I'm never going to be able to look like that. It's like, I almost believed that lie. But until I learned these things, it allowed me to break that belief because I had a body that I never thought I could get. And I tell people it wasn't just about what I saw in the mirror, but it was about, one, me learning the process, but two, me showing up for myself consistently to lead to that end result of what that was.
You've talked on it a lot, but a lot of people don't want to put in the work to get the result out of everything.
It's funny you say that, and then we'll dig in. I was reflecting on my training this morning, and you might have seen this on my Instagram story. But I mean, I've been doing this for 10 plus years. Daily, like it's not been 1 year and then off in a year. Like this has been really consistent. And I was like, it doesn't necessarily get easier.
No.
Like I remember when I started like let me just get through this first phase and then it's going to get easier. And I kept like waiting for this mountaintop. And I always said and thought like, okay, finally when I get there, then I can slow down. Then I can like ease off. And it's like, Kelsey, that's not the point.
No.
I'm 10 plus years into this and I'm seeking new levels.
Every year is different.
Every year. And as people get fitter, and I'm working with some women on this, you don't stop doing the things that got you there. And as people get fitter, it's going to require more details for them to take it to that next 5 to 10%. And so if you're out there and you're on your fitness journey, I really encourage you and I said this on my Instagram story, don't wish for it to get easier, work for you to get better. And when you can work for you to get better, it becomes fun. It's not this drudgery where every single day, I got to go to the gym, or I got to do this thing. There are times where I'm like really excited to do it, but the work needs to get done regardless. And so allow yourself to just get better and lean into the process and know that the process is not going to stop. And if I can have that long-term mentality of wait, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. It allows you to not rush the process too soon because people think, well, let me just get to this result, then I can stop. And they just rush the process, which actually hurts them than helps them. Yeah. You know? So let's go here. I'm going to first talk about the top 1 to 2 mistakes that people make. And then I'm going to talk through the nutrition phases and go into that. Okay. Does that work for you?
Yes.
And then I want you to pull out questions, or if there's something that I need to elaborate, pull it out of me. Deal? So one of the first mistakes, and I'm going to say women, but if men are listening to this, I'm not neglecting you. It's just we work a lot with women in fitness. A lot of these same principles and applications will apply to you. It's a kind of a through thread with it. But there's some specifically that I'm going to pull out for women that if you do the same thing as a man right here, it ain't going to get you results. It's not going to get there. So one of the first mistakes here with it is you basically try to go for everything at once, meaning you try to go for building muscle and leaning out and being the best performance, meaning trying to hit a crazy PR. And if you're a runner, trying to hit a PR running. Like you go for everything at once. There's a triangle, which there's a lot of research on this aspect of it, where at the top of the triangle, there's aesthetics. At the other side of the triangle, it's performance. And at the other side of the triangle, it's like longevity. So like in health, basically. Okay. And where a lot of women spin their wheels is they try to go for everything at once versus being very strategic and smart to say, now I'm building muscle. When I'm building muscle, I'm not trying to be the leanest that I can because I cannot do both of those things at once. I cannot be trying to build muscle and be in a big deficit at the same time. Those literally do not correlate with one another. And so what I encourage a lot of our women is let's think of your end goal. Okay, if the end goal is maybe a desirable body composition or a specific strength that you want to be at, we have to set that end goal and then work backwards. And this work backwards is not a 12-week work backwards. Usually it's a year, if not a couple years work backwards, if I'm being incredibly honest with people. And that's because we need to probably first build muscle, which we'll talk about later. Then we're going to go through a maintenance period, and then we're going to go into a cut to see that muscle with it. So going for everything at once there is going to get you nowhere. You do everything, you do nothing. And so being very strategic, what your focus is going to be incredibly important. Okay, that's number 1. Okay. The end goal with that, Soph, is like I think then people will say, well, Kelsey, you're kind of doing it all. Like you feel the way that you want to feel, look the way you want to look, and you're hitting PRs, and you're doing, and it's like because I've been doing this for 10 plus years and I've gone through the phases, I've built things to be able to get to a point where I can do more than one right now. But even in my journey, like for example, when I was training for that 100, is I wasn't focused on body composition in that 100. I was focused on fueling for performance. I was focused on training for performance. I was not focused on trying to be the most lean, ripped version of me, because if I was, that would really suffer my performance aspect of it. And so, yeah, I was a little bit squishier than normal. I was a little bit less lean or defined than normal. And I had to be okay with that to pursue the goal that I wanted and needed to pursue. And so for those that are out here, if you have a performance goal, if you have a lifting event, a running event, any of that, you have that be the main priority. You can have these other smaller things still be a priority, but you have to make your number one goal your number one goal and understand and identify what that is so you're not getting distracted.
I like how I like how you said you've been doing it for 10 plus years. And usually when people they're near the finish line, quote unquote, there's so many more PRs you can break. There's so many more things your body can do. Yeah. Like, 165 deadlift the other day. Yeah. I mean, there's so many more weight that you can add on. There's so much more that your body can do that you have no idea that it could do.
That's why it gets fun, because then I see this with a lot of our coaching clients too, is they might get to the body comp that they want to, or they hit the PR they want to, and they realize that's just the beginning for them. And when people are listening to this, I don't mean to discourage them of like, oh my God, that means I'm going to have all these other things that I need to go do. No, you're going to get to a point where you're excited to set those new goals. You're excited to keep seeing what's within you. And that's the point of it all, you know? So that's mistake number one, is going for everything at once, trying to build muscle, trying to lean out, trying to hit PRs, trying to be the fastest, be internal hormonally the best that you can, all at one time. If you do that, you're going to get nowhere and you're going to be very discouraged with it. Okay. Number two, and this is a through line through my story, through probably 95% of the women that we've worked with and continue to work with, is they undereat without even realizing it. Women do not eat enough, which they think that is helping them. Sometimes women aren't even aware of it. And I wasn't even aware of how much food I needed to eat. But a lot of times women aren't even aware either how much food they need to eat, or this is also what I see is, well, Kel, social media tells me calories in, calories out, let me eat less, and that's going to get me to the results that I want.
That was me too.
That was you. That's so many women, Soph. And they get discouraged and they come in, they're like, Kels, I'm doing the things. I'm eating the 1,200 calories, or I'm not eating until 11. They feel very proud about it. And I'm like, oh, you're just not, that's not helping you for your body. But when they're not eating enough, they don't realize that's actually hurting them versus helping them. Yeah. Not only just hurting their results that they want physically, that's potentially hurting their internal hormones and body. That's hurting their muscle development, which muscle development, yes, can be from a physique standpoint, or it can also be from a hormonal and just strength component standpoint, or longevity, where Dr. Gabrielle Lyon is a really good resource. She has a lot of research on muscle development and muscle with longevity. And her coined term, which is genius, is she said a lot of individuals are not over fat, they're under muscled. Yeah. And she's done a lot of research in the geriatric industry, or not industry, but geriatric population, which is older individuals. And she found that a lot of those are under muscled, which is why a lot of disease happens, falls happen.
Because they're weak.
Yeah, yeah. So number one is going for everything at once. Number two is women just not eating enough and not realizing they need to eat enough. And number three, which kind of goes into the number two, is they don't realize how much muscle they need on their body.
Yeah.
And this is for those individuals that do have a desirable body composition. And this was for me. I had no clue. I thought I just had to lose fat, quote unquote. I thought that was the epitome of what I needed to do when I started my fitness journey. Well, I just have too much on my body. I need to lose it. And that's that was the dialogue in my brain. And once again, remember, frame, my goal was big body composition when I first started, which is why I really understand and hit home with those individuals that start in that area. You'll see a lot of people on social, I don't want to say shame people for body composition changes, but they're all about performance, which I am too. But they think that you shouldn't have desirable body composition goals, which some people that are mentally not in that great headspace, no, performance all day, see how strong you can get, that focus. Yeah. But I also think it's inherent in us. Like, we want to feel and look the way that we want to feel. So I know that's still a big goal for mine too. But I digress. So when you don't build enough muscle, you don't actually get to see the muscle that you've built. And so
you can lose all the weight you want, but you're not going to see anything that you want to see.
And that's where the term, if you've heard of the term stuff like skinny fat comes in, where they're like, oh man, like I just look skinny fat. And because we don't have enough muscle in your body to develop the quote unquote, and I'll dig into this term, toned look that women want to usually achieve and get. Yeah. And that tone comes from building muscle, and that tone comes from then leaning out to see that muscle. But if we don't have enough muscle for your body to actually have in the first place, we're not going to see it as much.
Or even at all.
Right? So women, you're not going to get bulky. You're not going to hit a door frame on the way out by having so much muscle. If you do, good for you. But you're not going to. And that was also a really big fear that I had to break in my journey, is I was very afraid to lift heavier.
The lady from yesterday.
Which one?
She said that the reason she quit going to the gym was because she didn't want to get bulky.
Yeah. Yeah. And
like,
she quit weightlifting with it. And I said, so I realized like, no, that's not the case. But also that's where nutrition a lot of times comes in with it. And also the nutrition phases, because you are gonna, when I say bulk up, like you're going to not be as lean when we're trying to build muscle. Yeah. Because we can't be at a deficit when we're doing that.
And I think women, and maybe some men too, have the wrong idea of what bulking means. I mean, because they see all these, Arnold men or women. Yeah. I mean, they built themselves that way, but that doesn't mean when you bulk or eat your protein or you higher your your intake of carbs is higher, you're not going to look like that.
No, I really didn't think so. And there's no shade if it's not my choice in doing steroids. I don't advocate it, but if that's you, I mean, that's your choice. That's your life. I'm not going to disrupt that. But I remember when I started, I would be so afraid to lift more than 20 pounds because I literally thought I'd be like one of those women on steroids. I'm not joking you. So if this was a belief in my brain, I said, ooh, I don't, like, that's not really how I want to look personally. Right. So I was so afraid to lift the weight because I didn't realize that that's not what you get when you lift the weight. Anyway, so let's now, anything else that you want me to hit on with that?
You talked on it with the calories. Yeah. I think a lot of women start there, even men too. They think that, me in high school, which was sad, but I was always counting calories more than anything. Yeah. And I would eat in a deficit every day. Sure, you lose the weight, but you're, like you said, you're
sometimes not even.
I'll tell you why after. But you lose the weight, yes or no. But like you said, you're never going to see that end result. Sure, you'll be skinny, fat, like how you said, but there's no muscle, there's no definition, there's no quote unquote tone in your body. Yep. And I think, I saw myself lose the pounds on the scale, but when I looked in the mirror, there was like no difference in me. And I think that a lot of women, like you said, macros are so important. Like, I think you'll go into it, but protein is so important over than counting your calories for the day.
Okay, I'm glad that you brought that up. And I'll tell you how I think about this is I do not think that you should count macros until you're 85 years old. Like there's some people that it's like macros or die. If you're not tracking macros, you're not getting results ever. And I'm like, you really shouldn't need to count them until you're 90. Yeah. There's going to be phases where you do have to put in the work and get very nitty gritty with it. Like I'm in a phase right now, I want to have a specific goal for me. And now I err on the side of not eating enough. So I'm like, okay, I have to track to make sure I'm eating enough or being able to go through the nutrition phases. Right. For you, for example, you have a really specific goal you're working towards. Yeah, we're going to dial in. And for those individuals starting their journey, learn the skill set of tracking macros as long as the mental component can withstand it. If there's a history of a eating disorder or a history of really becoming obsessive with it to a really negative standpoint, do the mental work first.
I think, but also in my mind, I think that when I was counting my calories, it was bad for me because I was like, oh, sorry, I can't eat breakfast because, I have to save my, 400 calories for later on in the day.
So, so this is interesting, Soph, because back then for you, that was negative for you. Yeah. But now now let's talk calories versus macros. Oh, we could get into a long topic with this. But calories is your overall caloric intake. Yeah. That's the 1,200, the 1,400, the 2,000, the 2,400. And so that's overall. What calories break down is it's composed of 3 different macronutrients. So you have your protein, your carb, and your fat. Right. Okay. There's 4 calories per gram of protein, okay? There's 4 calories per gram of carb. Yeah. There's 9 calories per gram of fat. Yeah. And so if I do the math, if I have a specific protein, carb, and fat number, then that is going to equate to how much calories there is. Does that make sense? Because I know many people don't understand that first. Because they think, well, if I'm tracking macros, should I track my calories? I'm like, you're doing that as a byproduct. You're just not focusing on that. But where people go wrong when they're very calorically focused and only trying to hit a calorie goal is they have no goals for protein, carb, and fat, and each of those macronutrients heavily impact the body differently. So for example, carbs is a lot of energy. Your body gets a lot of energy from carbohydrates. Protein is a lot of repair and muscle development. Fat, is also some energy, but it's a lot of helps your brain, helps hormones a ton. And so if I'm only tracking calories and my protein's really low and my carbs are fatter everywhere, no, I'm not only not going to be able to build the muscle, I'm not going to be able to produce any results.
I mean,
that
sure,
way.
you're eating in the deficit, but you're not getting anything out of it.
Anything out of it. And a lot of times, Alyssa, remind me to talk about this.
Okay.
The deficit actually sometimes hurts women versus helps women too.
Yeah.
And so if I'm only doing calories, yes, I'm under or above a specific calorie range. I have no idea what macronutrients I'm eating. And so a lot of women come in of like, oh, Kelsey, I'm eating the 1,200 or 1,300. And I'm like, yeah, just track for a few days. Let me see where you're at. Their protein's 40 grams, 50 grams, 60 grams. And there's some research now, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon has the ideal as 1 gram per pound of body weight, or also ideal body weight. And so that could be 140, 150.
What,
like
grams of what, protein? Or?
Grams of protein. Yet they're getting 60, but they're under their calorie range, so they think they're good. And so those can vastly be different. And that's why personally I really encourage individuals to focus on more macronutrients than just calories, because we have to make sure that the appropriate amount of macronutrients are distributed not evenly, but appropriately to your body, because they're so different with it.
And I think for me, when I shifted into doing the macros instead of the calories, it was scary. Not scary, but for me going from, oh, I don't want to eat more than just, I don't even know what I was eating.
Chicken and broccoli.
Yeah, right. Over what? I think it was like 1,800 calories a day. And then, you know, when I joined the program or whatever, you know, Shelb was like, okay, you got to eat like more than that.
Yeah.
Your carbs have to be way more than what you're eating. And like you said, when you did it, you were like, I hope you know that, like, I don't want to gain weight.
Yeah.
And you and Shelby were like, no. You need this in order for the results to come.
Oh, this is so good. Yes. Like, so is anything else you want to say?
No, but I'm just saying it can be scary at first, because your mindset is so, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. It's so turned into
more
everything.
Scarcity.
Yeah. It's shaped into everything else around you, and you want these results to be skinny and to do this, so it's hard for your mindset to shift to like do something else. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. Because once again, a lot of times we're programmed of eat less equals results. That could be the most completely wrong belief to have. And I had that belief of, I guess I'm just eating too much. And no, that's actually hurting you. And the reason being, I'm going to dovetail into that, then we'll go phases, is your body, how old you are, how old you are, what weight you have, your body type, your activity level, you're going to have a specific maintenance for your intake, like a calorie intake, right? Let's say, I think mine's now is like 25 or 2,600 with the output that I have. For many women, it's not 1,500. It's like 2,000, 2,200, 2,400, 2,500 sometimes. And so when you're consistently, and for those that are on YouTube, look at my hands right here. Okay. Let's say this is your maintenance intake and this is how much you're eating. If I am consistently under eating, let's say 1,200, 1,300, what happens, your body's not like, oh, let's get results. What happens a lot of times is everything will start to downregulate. Metabolism actually starts to downregulate. Hormones start to shift in a negative standpoint. And so that's why when people come in and they're not eating barely anything, they're like, what? Why am I not seeing it? And so they think, well, let me just eat less. Worst thing you could do, because now once again, your body's not like, oh yeah, she's feeding me enough. No, it's like, let me downregulate to meet with what her input is. I cannot output more than the input is, because your brain and your body wants you to survive. It doesn't want you to get lean and think about your desirable body composition. And so it's like, well, I can't turn over my metabolism and keep everything operating at a really high level, because she's not actually feeding me enough there. So she's really, I need to downregulate to meet with the intakes at. And this is where the mind mess comes in, because what I share with many women is, we're not going to jump you up to 2,500 tomorrow. but we need to slowly and strategically, this is called reverse dieting, increase your intake to allow your body to actually operate at a higher functioning level. And then increase it again to actually increase and operate at a high functioning level. And eventually, as you get to your maintenance, number one, you're eating more food, but number two, your metabolism's operating a lot better.
Right.
Your hormones are a lot better. You actually have energy in your body and you're not exhausted all the time. And your body, it shifts from that survival mode to more of that thriving mode. Your body does not want to lean out, lose weight, lose fat when it's surviving. It is literally just trying to survive. When we shift it to thriving, meaning at your maintenance intake, meaning your sleep's better, meaning you have more energy, meaning your intake is pretty, consistent throughout each day. That's where your body's like, okay, yeah, I can lean out a little bit now, because it's not just trying to keep you alive because you're not feeding it enough. Right. Does that make sense?
And I think we were talking about this a couple weeks ago when you were training for your 100. I mean, you talked about it a little early on.
Yeah.
Your hormones, like you said, were all over the place. And I remember you saying that you were so, not excited, but you were so ready to get back into what your body is normally used to doing.
I was just exhausted. Yeah. And it's, and once again, when you have big goals like that, and I fueled body as best as I could, but your body's not necessarily wants to run 100 miles, and that's a lot of output. And I definitely overstressed my body, and now I'm trying to do what's best for it to heal it and repair it. It's not terrible, but I was a lot more fatigued and exhausted. And I guess training was high, but it was just I had more stress going on in my body. And that's a lot of times what happens with women is, and once again, I say women specifically, it could be male too, but they're overstressing their body by being in a really big deficit. Yeah. Your body does not know any different. And so it adds another stressor on when you're at a deficit with your nutrition. And so it's not just psychological stress. There's nutritional stress, meaning deficit. There's environmental stress, meaning things in your environment. There is psychological stress, and stress isn't bad. I think stress is a really bad, negative connotation to it now, but too much stressors will once again shift your body to that survival mode, and it's just trying to do whatever it can to keep you alive. So when we're compounding a nutritional stress in there, your body's like, no, I don't care how much you want to lose. I don't care what body composition you desire.
I need you to feed me.
I need you to feed me, right? Which is so important. If I could get women to eat more in this podcast, my life is made, baby. I'm a happy person. But let's dive a little bit, Soph, into the nutrition phases, because this was also a really big piece for me. Cool? Anything else besides that?
No, that was good. I think especially hormones were so big, such a big topic to talk about.
Yeah, and remind me later, I'll talk a little bit more about the hormone aspect of it, because once again, everybody and their mom right now is a hormone coach, and it drives me crazy. Yeah. And not all advice is helpful with regards to it. And I also think a lot of women think their bodies are really fragile because they don't want to mess their hormones up. And it's like, no. You're built to be durable. You're built to be resilient, but we have to work smart with your body and not just keep drilling your body into the ground. And so you don't have to stop training. You don't have to stop doing everything, but let's work smart with it.
Right.
So I can go on that forever. But what I'm going to share through now is nutrition phases. This was the biggest game changer for me with regards to body composition. Okay. Because once again, I relate back to the first biggest mistake is you cannot do everything at once. You cannot build muscle and then lean out like crazy to see that muscle and then heal nutritional stress on your body. You cannot do everything at once. And so this is where that longer term mindset comes in of what is my end goal? And I tell everybody, set it for at least a year. Don't set it for 2 weeks, set it for a year, because we need to have time to work back from that goal. And so there's 3, potentially 4, and I'll tell you why. So there's 3 main nutrition phases. And nutrition phases meaning what is the goal and what will your intake be at / potential cardio be at, okay, to achieve the end goal. And so there's reverse dieting, which many people might have heard of before. There is a cutting phase or more of a leaning out phase. There's a maintenance phase. And this is where that fourth one can potentially come in, a building phase or like a surplus bulking phase, okay? It's dependent on the body type with regards to if they need a higher surplus, so meaning a higher than their maintenance intake, or if their body can build pretty good muscle at a maintenance, then they don't need to go crazy high intake. Because there's different body types too. Like for me, I'm a pretty athletic build. There's some individuals like the woman we met yesterday, very lean.
Yeah.
Very lean. And so for her to build muscle, it's a lot harder than it is for me to build muscle, than it is for somebody that has a little bit bigger of a build to build muscle. And so you're going to need different intakes. Like for me, I can be at a maintenance intake, what I should be at, and build a lot of muscle.
Right.
For her, she'd probably need to be a lot over her maintenance intake to build that muscle because her body is a very lean type of one. Does that make sense? Because that's also different.
No, it makes sense.
So let's first dig into reverse dieting.
Can you explain it?
Oh, reverse dieting?
Yeah.
So this is slowly and strategically increasing your intake to allow your body to, number one, increase how much it's getting fueled, but allow your metabolism to upregulate, allow also any nutritional stress to decrease off the body, to then the end goal is to get at your maintenance.
So this is so say someone comes in and they were under eating, you're going to start them on reverse dieting.
So if somebody is really under eating, whether they're aware of it or not aware of it, and their body isn't responding, this is where I don't just jump them to their maintenance if they don't have the ability to early on. Comes day one. Okay. We need to slowly and strategically increase their intake to meet at that maintenance for two reasons. Number one, psychologically, if I jump them up to 2,400 calories come day one, they would go out the back door because they're really afraid.
They'd say bye.
They would say bye. Even if that might be best for their body, we need to, it's almost like a pool. You know how like the kiddie pool, like you slowly step into the deep end? Yep. We need to slowly step in from a psychological standpoint to not overdo it mentally for somebody. But also number two is more physiologically, right? If they're eating 1,200 calories and then I bump them up to 2,400, so 1,000, about 1,200 more, their body's like, whoa, like I haven't eaten this much in months or years for some people. And so that's a big shock to the body. Right. And so this is where it's almost kind of like regaining trust again, where if they're eating 1,200, then we know to increase it to maybe 1,600 or 1,500, and then 1,800, and then 2,000, and then 2,200. And this is over a period of months, not just weeks. Yeah. And so that's where reverse dieting comes in. And what a lot of women realize is, number one, they're able to build better muscle than they were at that big deficit. But the coolest thing, too, is they even might notice their body composition change and lean out a little bit because they're actually fueling it better and more, which is beautiful. So I never promise anybody, hey, this is where you're going to achieve the desirable body composition come only this phase. But they actually might notice some good changes because they're fueling it more there.
Your body is happy again.
It's happy. It's working with you, and you ain't working against it anymore. And so this reverse dieting phase, this could be 4, 5, 6+ months if you're actually doing it strategically and not rushing the process. But you have to be patient in this one, very patient. And so the end goal for it is to be at your maintenance. Yeah. That's the goal. It's not to go into a cut. It's not to lean out after that. It's to go into your maintenance. Anything else with reverse dieting you want me to hit on? No? Good. Okay. Which then brings me to maintenance. Maintenance is the most unsexy phase on Instagram, but the most important phase that a woman could go through. You ideally want to live at your maintenance long term. I'm not living at a deficit long term. I ideally want my body composition and the goals that I have and the output that I want to be at my maintenance, okay? For women that have that a desire to lose body fat or lean out a little bit, maintenance is the phase where you build that muscle. Like I said at the beginning, many women are actually under-muscled and they think, oh, I just need to lose fat. No, you actually are under-muscled, which is why the body composition that you have is not necessarily the one that you desire, right? And so maintenance is that 24, 22, 26, depending on who you are, what your body type is, what age is, all that stuff. So maintenance is where you build muscle. Okay. This phase could be a year. I know it could be a year. It could be 4 months. It could be 5 months. It could be 6 months. This is not a short phase. For those that want it fast-tracked a little bit, once again, we kind of have to work with people. If I say, hey, you're going to be at your maintenance for 2 years, they'd be like, what in the freak are you talking about? My perfect world as a coach, yes, they would. Because number one, it heals your body. It's not under nutritional stress anymore. It allows your actual muscle development. It allows just I already said stress, but like the stress, the hormones to be in a good spot. Maintenance is where it's at.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're trying to heal hormones, you should not and cannot be at a deficit really deep, because we need to take that nutritional stress off your body.
I think the maintenance is a good time to work on mindset too.
Oh, and it's a hard phase to work on mindset, to be honest with you, because you're not seeing the changes yet.
No, but that's why it's good. It's a good point to work on mindset, because you're allowing your body, you're allowing to trust your body for once, and not having it be put through, not eating or overeating. You're just allowing to trust yourself and your body, so that way the results and outcomes are what you want it to be.
Let's go. Look at this 20-year-old spitting facts right here. It's cool. I went through this earlier in life too. And a lot of 20-year-olds are not ready for this. Yeah. Or 19-year-olds or however old you are. But for those that have the freedom of this, it can be the biggest game changer for them, which is why, not why, but I went through it younger too. And it actually helped me versus anything. But like you said, maintenance is a great time to put in the work. Yeah. You are trying to hit PRs. You are lifting heavier. You are really seeing what your body is capable of. Yeah. And if you have a performance goal, a strength goal, a running goal, do a Spartan race, maintenance is your jam. Yeah. That is where you want to be. That is more performance driven than being at a deficit and trying to perform well. It just, those two do not go well together. So maintenance, lift heavy, build muscle. You might feel, I don't want to even say bulkier. You're just gaining muscle. So you're going to feel maybe a little bit.
Really, you won't, I feel like you won't see it.
You're not going to see it. No. When you talk about thinking of muscle, this is the muscle that you don't see yet. Yeah. Like you're not going to see your tricep popping in the mirror right now, but it's getting built to be able to see it. Right? Yeah. So this is, in my opinion, one of the hardest phases to be in if you're early on in your journey, because you're not seeing the results. You're not feeling the results yet. We're not all about the scale, but the scale is going to be a little bit heavier, as it should if you're gaining muscle, but you have to trust the process. Yep. Okay. Trust the process, which leads us to the phase that everybody wants to get to and as they first start their journey, but nobody's ready for. And that's the cutting phase. And this phase, I want you to think about it. It is like the in-season phase for an athlete, meaning a football team. We'll use football. They play basically September, October, November. If they're really good, they play December. It is 3 months out of the 12-month year. It is short comparatively the entire year. Yeah. The same thing is for the cut. You will not be in a cut for 8 months, nor should you, or you will psychologically and physiologically go crazy, okay? This is short, condensed. This might be 18, 20 weeks maximum. If you're going slowly and strategically, this might look 10 to 12, maybe 14. If you're going a little bit more, I don't want to say aggressively, but proactively. But this is the phase where your goal is to lean out to see that muscle that you've built into maintenance. If we do not take time in a reverse diet and maintenance, and you go directly into a cut, you're only pushing your body further into a nutritional stress state, and it's not actually getting the results that you want to get to. And so this cut is short comparatively to maintenance or reverse diet. But this is one where we're slowly and strategically decreasing intake and adjusting cardio potentially to be able to see the muscle that you've built, right? And as you get there, as you get to the end of your cut, your goal is to not be at that intake forever, right? As you go through these phases, you're going to get a desirable body composition that you can maintain at your maintenance. Right. That's the end goal. It's going to come from more than just one phase of reverse diet, maintenance, and cut. It's probably going to come through a couple over a couple of years to be able to maintain that. And like now I'm at a spot where I still want to have specific goals physique wise, but I'm at a spot where I can see muscle and be at my maintenance, or honestly not even track, but because I've built it over the last
Right.
X amount of years. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think don't get discouraged that after your maintenance, you're going to go into your cut and then, you're going to see your muscle, but it's going to take more time to go back into the maintenance, build the muscle, and then go again into the cut. And then, it might take 2, 3, 4, however many more times to really get that result that you want to see. Yeah,
it takes time, and people don't want to hear that because we live in the Amazon era that comes yesterday, but it really takes time. But I want to tell people, if you put in the time, effort, and energy, is it worth it? Health, is it worth it? Internal health-wise, is it worth it? The freedom that you get mentally and physically to do the things that you want to do and feel the way that you want to feel, it is the perfect representation of delayed gratification. If you put in the work, it doesn't mean that you stop doing everything once you get to that desirable goal for you, but it means a lot of times the effort becomes a little bit less, meaning I still train really hard right now. Yeah. There's still times where I'll go back to tracking like I am right now. There's still times that I go through the phases because I want to lean out a little bit or build more muscle, but I don't have to work as hard to maintain the body comp because I've really taken the time to build that. And that's what I want to give people hope with. Yeah. But also kind of the kick in the butt to say, put in the work now and don't avoid the work now to it. So then after that cut, once again, we go into reverse diet, got to slowly strategically increase it, get to that maintenance. And like So said, that might take a few cycles of it over a course of years, not just months. Yeah. You don't need to track every single day over those years. We take time off and you can do refeeds and all that type of stuff. But if you put in that work, man, are things going to change before your eyes. And it's the coolest thing ever with it. So,
I mean, I'm just in my first cut of ever doing. And I mean, of course I don't see, my guns are out or whatever, but it's the little things, like how I was just got back from vacation. Before vacation, I was trying on, at Target in the fitting room, trying on my tank tops or whatever. And I put the tank top on and I'm looking in the back and I'm like, oh, I can see my back muscles for the first time ever. And I'm just like, you know what? That's the work that I put in, you know? Good. I mean, this cut, it sucks a little bit. I wish I could eat what I'm still eating what I want to eat, but in a lower capacity. Yeah. But I'm ready to go back to maintenance.
See, she's right. And that's where you get to, is you kind of get to a spot where you're like, all right, instead of trying to be continually the smallest version, eat the least amount, and that being a thing of pride, which should not necessarily being a thing of pride, you get really excited about the body that you're building. Yeah. And I always think of it as a two-way relationship. You need to work for it to work for you. Yep. And a lot of times that relationship with the body is a one way. This thing isn't working the way that I want to work. It's not looking the way that I want to look. And it's like, have you been nice to it? No. Have you fueled it well?
Right.
Have you trained it well? No. And so you cannot expect it to work for you unless you're putting the time, effort, and energy into it. And that means sleep. That means fuel. That means drink your water. That means we can't be a jerk to it and then pretend like it wants to be nice back to us. It's like a friend.
Sleep is the biggest thing of them all.
Sleep is heavily underrated. And today we talk more nutrition, but I'll go into that a little bit, is to really be it's not even a word, but underslept. For you to be under your sleep, it will tremendously halt or stop or impact your progress. Yeah. Because just like your muscles aren't built in the gym, they're actually built after you recover. Same exact thing is, if we're not recovering well, it will jack your cortisol up, which is your stress hormone. It will impact your hormones. It will halt or stop your progress because you are not recovering well.
It's crazy because I noticed that the nights that I don't get sleep and then I weigh myself in the morning, I'm like, I still feel like I'm holding whatever I ate the day before. Yep. And it's just still, my body hasn't gone through all the cycles because I got only 4 hours of sleep. Yep. And I step on the scale and I'm like, you know what? I deserve that number today because I didn't get the amount of sleep.
Yeah, it's crazy. So whenever I was really into it from the bodybuilding side, when I would not sleep that much during the week, and it was just an ignorance on my part, and then I would sleep a lot on Saturday, right? Which, do not be in a sleep deficit. I've learned the hard way. But I would always weigh in about 1 or 2 pounds less on Saturday than during the week. Yep. Nothing changed. My nutrition didn't change. My training didn't change. My day-to-day didn't change. the only thing that changes my sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And it is heavily under influenced now. It's getting better. There's a lot more research coming out with it. And that doesn't mean you need to go to bed at 8 p.m. But if you're scrolling your TikTok at Sophia until midnight, I'm just kidding, or you're just not prioritizing, you're watching TV till 11:30 and then you're waking up, you're already at a deficit when you wake up than if you would have went to bed earlier. And that's actually hurting you versus helping you.
Mm-hmm.
And last thing with sleep real quick, we'll do a whole podcast on it later. I should get an expert about sleep coming in for it. That'd be good. But specifically with sleep, hold on. What was I going to go into? Oh, my brain just blanked out on that.
It's okay.
Sleep, body weight, we talked about that. Dang, it just skipped my brain.
We can cut it.
No, we'll keep it in. But if I come back to it, I'll post it on the Instagram if I come back to the thing about sleep. Dang, I can't remember what I was going to go into there. Anyway, it's very important.
It is important.
You need to sleep. Allow yourself to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And if you are in a cut, maintenance, reverse, whatever that is a non-negotiable.
It is.
Non-negotiable.
You're going to be happy when you wake up in the morning, too.
Amen to that. Amen to that. I'll tell you that much. But that is all things nutrition phases. Mm-hmm. Anything else you want me to elaborate, talk through?
I mean, I think a lot of women just need to trust themselves. Yeah. Same with men. I mean, it takes a lot of courage and confidence and trust in yourself to believe that you could do the damn thing.
Yeah, that's so true. That is, oh man, you came spitting today. It's so true. And this is where, and this is not a podcast to say, hi, hire us to be your fitness coach, but
you could do the things on your own.
You could. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, for me, I spun my wheels way too much, and it was really helpful for me to have that person to help guide me. I don't necessarily need it now. Right. Even though I probably will hire it sometime and eventually, because I enjoy having a coach. Yeah. But allow yourself, if you're in your head or you're like, ooh, I don't know when to go to reverse or maintenance, find a really good coach. Yeah. And you should not need them forever. Yeah. I tell every single one of our women coming in, our goal is you don't need me forever.
I might want you forever.
You might want me forever, but you don't need me forever. And if you learn these skill sets, you are going to be free in your body. Mm-hmm. You're going to be free in your mind. Yeah. You're going to be free from this, the physicality part that might be holding people back right now. Yeah. And so personally, because I've done it, and this, like I said, this is not saying hire us, but if this is an area that you really want to focus on, short track it by having a really good coach and finding a really good coach. Yeah.
And it's not just about tracking your macros. Find somebody that cares about your mental health.
Amen.
I mean, because your mental is so important. Mm-hmm. So important. Mm-hmm.
And you deserve to have that person in your corner, you know? And that's not in the place of therapy or not in the place of any of that, but you've seen this, Soph, and I've seen this, is as you physically grow, you mentally grow. 100%. And it is not one or the other, it's an and. Yeah. And that's why you want to have the right person to help facilitate that growth and encourage, but also challenge you to be able to take yourself to that next level.
Because also, you're not going to get it right on the first try. You want somebody that's going to be there and be like, okay, so you didn't do it this week, but what can you do next week to get better and meet those goals next week?
Exactly. And each person is different. Yeah. People say, oh, Kelsey, what we do in this scenario? I'm like, well, you got to tell me your background, your history. What have you tried? It's so individualized, as it should be, which is why a lot of times it doesn't work for some women that just try these fad diets or blanket programs, because your body's different than mine, it's different than Soph's, it's different than Susie out there, and you need a little bit different approach. Yep. So we're going to mic drop it. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. What I hope y'all gain from this episode is more insight and education. And this was a lot more tactical than a lot of our episodes of interviews or mindset work, because tactically, this is a time, ideally, if you want to peak summertime, we need to start 8 months ago, but this is a time where people are starting to think about it more. We're starting to be like, oh, it's getting summertime out. I want to feel a little bit better. And this is not to say you're late. If you're this part where you're like, Kels, all that hit home, start small. I'm going to give some action steps because I don't want people just to listen and not take anything from this. Is if you're somebody that you've never even tracked before, focus on getting 3 or 4 sources of protein a day. That's it. Don't worry about the intake. Don't worry about tracking. Just get 4 sources of protein. I don't care how big or how small it is. If we can start those habits, boom, game changer. Okay. For those that are a little bit more progressive with things, and you might be doing that already, I want you to just track if mentally you're in a good spot. Track for a couple days. See where your intake's at. See where your protein's at, your carbs at. See where your fat's at. You might not know what to do with that. Message us. We're more than happy to help you, guide you in the right direction. But just see. If you are under 100 grams, I don't care if you're 80 years old or 20 years old, of protein, that's probably too little. So if that's the next step for you, get at least 100 plus, or sometimes even 120 plus grams of protein. That's already a good trajectory. You're going to be amazed how your energy is different, how your muscle development is different, how your just overall satiation or intake is different by just taking that step in the right direction. So 4 sources of protein, if this is not even anything that you do, or at least 100 grams of protein. Tracking is going to be annoying at the beginning. It's going to be tedious. It's going to be, how in the heck do I do this? It's a new skill set that you have not gained yet. So allow yourself to put in the work now to be able to have that result later.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to mic drop it on there.
Boom.
Boom. Love y'all. Have an amazing rest of your week. If you have questions, I have so many videos of education, more diving into reverse dieting or maintenance or cutting or like all of the things. Once again, you should not have to count macros until you're 80, but develop the skill set and understanding about food now so it gives you that freedom to not need it later. Okay? Go challenge yourself this week. Seek the edge of your comfort zone, and I'll see y'all next week. Love you.